you do the autopsy right, it's beautiful, but you are translating something else which was not there. For example, I had student reading, because to autopsy to do it's a conscious thing, right? So it's much easier, let's say, but reading it's more unconscious, so you can make easier mistake there if you do not have enough experience. Even for everybody it's easier to make mistake in reading than in the autopsying the verbs.
Right.
So, and once we know how to read quite like regularly, normally, then we get the syntax, and we translate it naturally, right? But if we like any time, it doesn't matter that you make mistakes in language, but if you can speak with the flow, people will understand you.
Right.
You cannot speak. I will eaten. Doesn't matter. I just lost. I just changed the channel already.
Sure, the other person doesn't listen anymore.
Right.
Okay, so I will read it. Ko Amar Adonai Hashem
Elohim, because when we have these two names after each other, so the first one is Hashem, which we translate as a Almighty or everlasting one, or the Tetragrammaton, and the second one you can see because it's the Tetragrammaton, right?
Right.
But it has Cholam on the left upper corner above the Hey, so we know it's pronounced as Elohim.
Right.
Or Elohim in our respected way.
Sure. Adonai Elohim, Ko Amar Adonai Elohim, Beyom Tahari, Etchem, Mekol Avonoteichem.
Mikol, right?
Right. Mikol Avonoteichem, Uhoshafti et He'arim, Venivnu
Hechoravot, because that kamats, we know this kamats, it's always being read as
it's always O.
Yes.
Right.
It's okay. Very good. So now what we're gonna do next, we should highlight for ourselves the verbs, right?
Sure.
I'll do it. You just tell me which one is it, so you don't have to use your brain activity for this simple task.
Right. So Amar.
That's correct. There are a few more.
And, right. Hoshafti.
That's obviously because we have the ending of T.
Right. And also Venivnu.
Because the ending of U, which is also obvious. In 99.9 cases, there is one case which could be possessive, but that's very rare because it's very rare. And one more is this one, Tahari.
Tahari. Yes, I was gonna say that.
That's
so I didn't. Right.
Because it looks like possessive because of the yud, but we know that we add the possessive also to the gerundiums, so that's why this is a little bit confusing.
Right.
Those gerundiums are the hardest one, because the ending it's similar to the nouns.
Right.
So let's see let's translate because I am just thinking we don't have to do autopsy on all of them if we know how to translate them, right? That's pointless, I think. So if you can translate the verbs from your and if you don't feel confident enough, then we can do autopsy, to figure it out. But I think Amar we don't need to do it at all, right?
So. Sure. So it means thus spoke
or said,
right? Thus said the Lord our God.
No, the Lord, the Lord God.
the Lord God, right?
Das Lord God said.
Said. On the day of my purifying,
Right.
of my.
We can also split this because we have Zakef Katon and we would
Right.
have the verb there, so we can do splitting like this, right? So in each of the lines, in Zakef Katon and in Esnachto, we can split it because in each of those we will be left with a verb.
Right.
So that's from this long sentence, suvetie, it's called in Slovak. So right, in this verse we have four in this long verse, or in this one verse we have 4 sentences, and actually according to the musical science te'amim, and highlighting the verbs, we can split it beautifully into 4 simple sentences, which will make it really easy to translate. Yeah. So on the day when this is very important when we translate gerundium, to translate it to a human speech.
Right.
Because on the day of my purification, that could mean when I will be purified, right?
Sure, but it means when I will purify.
Yes, when I will purify, because this is kal.
Right.
This is the simple active, whatever, kal or katal or paal. On the day when I will purify you from
when I will purify you
all
from
your
all
sins.
your. Right.
This is not etymological, class. Avon, chet, pesha, resha, zadon. We don't care about the meanings of the noun. That's the next.
Right.
That's the next level. Right. And hoshafti. This is interesting. This I think we could do the autopsy.
Do the autopsy.
Yes.
Right. So so I'm thinking it comes from the same root that means to let me just remember the root. So obviously it is shin and vav, but the first letter will be yud, I think.
Yes, that's correct. So the yud, shin,
right.
And obviously the second it's not vowel.
It's bait. Sorry, not
of
vav,
course.
It's bait.
Because as we said before, if we go back, and we will not go back. We will remind ourselves. You remember the ilan?
Right.
So the ilan means that when the verb in the past starts with one of these 4 letters, so in the future or in nif'al, or in the future, in pa'al in the future, or in the nifal everywhere, or in the hifil everywhere, these letters will be missing.
Right.
So that's why it is yuchin beit. That's correct. And that's why we put it into the bracket, so we know that in pa'al in the future, or in nifal and hifil, the yud will just gonna be blown off, and of course it's yashav. It's parsha vayeshev, right? This is
sure. To settle.
To settle, right? Yashav. He settled. He stayed. He sat. Yeah.
Right, and then in hifil, I'm guessing it means to cause someone to settle.
So inhabit, to cause inhabit, to fill it with people.
Right.
So it's he feel ho shiv. There the conjugation is going to be a little bit different. What can we do? Hoshiv, and I don't know how to translate it. Nice English. He caused to be inhabited. I don't know.
Inhabited, right?
Yeah. And of course, this is, if we wouldn't have the vow, this would be past tense, obviously.
Right, but here it is future tense. So we have the vav.
Right, because we have the vow, and the musical sign is on the last syllable. So we know, because because in general in ani and ata, it's on the between the second and the third syllable, between second and the third radical, and when we move it in first person and second to the suffix, so we know without the context that this is the vav hahipuch.
Right.
Which is some would say, well, this is crazy. I have to notice the little ta'am just to know if it's past or future. Yes, you do, but you don't need the context, so it's beautiful.
Right. It actually helps you.
Yes. In the problem is in I and you in masculine there is no problem. You don't need context, so you don't have to think what is being talked about. You just translate it just on the spot without any context, and you'll get it right. Problem is with the other persons. But
right, you have to pay attention to the context.
Yeah, but we already have to, you as we said before. That's why you have to read quickly, because this all is about the future, right?
Sure.
So then it's not such a big deal when you know what's going on. And here we had, right, in 24, velakachti, vekibatsti, veheveti, vezarakti. We have 4 verbs which has this you must know that when the accent is on the last syllable in the past conjugation, and there is ve, in old binyanim it's changed to the past to the future. It's such a helpful rule. You cannot just ignore it.
Right.
It's you just making it impossible for yourself. Not impossible, but more harder than it really is.
Sure.
Okay, so I will, and then we could also write, because there is vav hahipuch, so that means that sometimes vav hahipuch, and then I will, right? And
right.
Or only then I will. Only then I will. Inhabit it. I don't know.
I will cause the cities to be inhabited.
I will cause the cities, to be inhabited. Maybe I will cause the cities to be full with people, and we are missing the second object.
Right.
So there is also difference. Why would we say vehoshavti when we could just say very simple, just oshiv, right? Why the Hebrew is so obsessed with this vav hahipuch, right? Why to make it past and then to future when we have the simple future which any Israeli would understand? I think one of the reasons is because vav hahipuch, if we say vav consecutive, right? I think it's from the word consequence. It is only being first the first thing and then the second thing.
Right, and so if we have a series of events,
right, which one is being followed after another.
Right. That makes sense, actually.
And it only happened and if this happens in the past, so this is only talking about, this is how to say, dokonavivit. This means we are talking only about once upon a time this happening. When the regular verb is used in general, right? Because these tenses in Hebrew are crazy. So then we talk, let's say, vedibarti. I used to spoke as through my prophets. We didn't mean, I said once upon a time one thing from the mouth of Isaiah, but it means I talked to you Jewish people for 150 years through the 15 types of the all kind of prophets, and you still did not listen, and that's why your temple was destroyed.
Right.
But if it would have been written va'adaber, I spoken, the eitan and then vow, then it would mean I have spoken once.
Once, right? Yes. I understand.
So let's go weiter.
That makes sense. Venivnu. Okay, so here we have to find out the root.
Yeah. So it's always this is what I have to want to tell you. It's about basically Hebrew is in general that you see the 2 radical letters and you have to figure it out what's the third one, right?
Right. So two radical letters are beit and nun,
Wonderful.
and then
And we're gonna follow the simple rule. We have two, we need three, so we put hey at the end.
right,
That's the dummy's guide.
right. So that is always the first option, to put hey at the end, and then if that
Unless in the first radical, let's say if the bait would have dagesh, so we would just totally ignore this first simple option, and we would say it's the nun bait nun, because when the nun disappears, the next letter will have dagesh.
sure,
So, but we don't have this, so we're gonna go with
Right.
our first gut feeling, which is hey, right?
right,
And same like asa or ra'a or bana or any kind of these verbs which finish at the hey, with the hey at the end. We know when there is, whenever we can, we just get rid of it, because we cannot add anything under the hey. So
Right.
we replace it in nouns. In nouns we replace it with tau, right? Simcha, simchati. And in the verbs we get rid of it, or we change it for yut, like asiti, ra'iti, right? Or as I said before, with the noun simcha, and then we would have simchati. So let's just
Right.
write it here so we can actually remember it better when we see it. Right. So beit nun hey, and now the question is,
Yes. Now the question is it nifal and third person plural,
yes,
or is it the
eitan. You wanted to say, I assume, the
yes,
future tense.
eitan,
So
eitan, the first person plural.
those are exactly the sides which person should think, because when he sees nun, he should think about two possibilities: nifal or eitan,
Right.
and we know that nun in eitan means we will, right?
Sure.
So if this is we will, that is totally unnecessary have the u at the end, which is sign of the plural. So if you have the ending of the past tense, you cannot say the nun is the future for we will, because this will be we will and plural at the end.
Right, right.
So immediately you must say, so the u is the plural, nun is not the plural, so the nun must be the nifal, because we have only two options, and since we very logically eliminate the one of them, so it must be the other one.
Right. So in the first person plural eitan, there is never a vav at the end.
No, because
Right.
you have the three radicals, you put nun before, and it's we will, and
Right.
and that's it. So in that case, there you would have to follow the patterns of the nekudot in order to figure out if it's we will or it was built. There would be difference in the nekudot, but that's the only case.
So if it were third person singular,
Yes,
it was right.
So for example, nivna, I think it would be it was built, and nivne, we will build.
We will build.
So,
Right.
so there is possible to confuse if we just concentrate on. This is the more difficult, right? Because this needs a person to really to get it into his head. But
Sure.
we could concentrate on the patterns of the nekudot, or we could just follow the context, right? Because
Right.
if it would be nivne, that would mean that before we have to have subject which is Max and Ze'ev, or we would have the subject in the same sentence, which would be the singular. So we
Right.
don't.
So it wouldn't make sense.
So we don't have to go crazy over the nekudot, as a beginners.
Right. Right.
We just have to we just have to read normally, and we will figure it out what the subject, because we have to figure out subject first before we translate the verb, and then naturally we will figure it out which one is it.
Right. So this one is obviously avar, third person.
So
third
hem
person
hen,
plural.
right? Nifal, niktal, or nifal nivna,
Right.
and was built.
Was built.
And this is based on the context, because previously we have vav hypuch, so this is gonna be as well, right? So this is talui, meaning without the context we wouldn't know if this nivnu was built, they were built, gonna stay in the past or it's gonna be in the future. So it depends, because it's not the first or second person, but because the previous sentence is the future and the whole text is about the future, so so it's gonna be future.
We can assume that it is future as well.
Yeah, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense in the story.
Sure. So the Charavot will be built.
Choravot.
Choravot.
Right. So we know the word for the Hurban is the destruction of the Hurban Habayit, destruction of the house, so destruction of the holy temple in Jerusalem. So, and I would say the ruins will be built.
Right. The ruins will be built.
I think
meaning they will be built so that they are houses again.
Right.
Right.
I don't know, because there we have similar word before, I think, or we will have here ruins or something which was ruined, but I think this is ruins, yes, because then we have in the next verse, in the verse Lamed Hey, look at this. Then we have, this is my assumption based on the context. I will have to still check it with my teacher. He Choravot are the ruins, and He Choravot are the ruins, and He Chorevot the ruined ones. If that's
right,
if so there is this is more like an
participle
or adjective, yeah.
Right.
This is confusing. Okay, just so we can go next to the Lamed Dalet.
Right, but they will be built here means they will be reconstructed.
Right.
Okay, and then the Lamed Dalet. Again, I will read it first. V'ha'aretz haneshama te'aved tachat asher hayat
hayata, yeah.
Hayata, asher hayata, shemama le'einei kol over.
That's correct.
So again, I will point out the verbs. So te'aved is a verb.
That's correct.
And hayata, obviously.
And those are the. If we would like to highlight one more, we have to, but we don't have to.
Over is also the participle.
That's correct. And neshama, I think, is also neshama.
Right.
It's good. So let's do all of them. Why not? For the. So now we see. So there is etnachta after te'avet, so we can split it, right?
Right.
Like this, and of course we have over here, but here it's over as the passerby, so we will not split it after it.
Sure.
So and so let's do the autopsy on neshama.
Right. So it obviously it has to be the participle also. But
Yes.
the question is aneshama.
So let's start with two letters which we know for sure going to be part of the root, right?
Shin and mem.
Very good. And now so of course we know the dagesh in the noon. It's because of the definite article. When the definite article, when you have the regular letters, it's supposed to be
Right.
always followed with dagesh. So the dagesh in the noon, it's totally useless for any kind of purpose of translating. So the question
Right.
so the question is if the root is shin mem hey, or if that dagesh in the mem it carries with itself any significance, and it does.
Right.
So the root is it's called kfulim, meaning when the second and the third radical is the same, sometimes we just can rid of the third one and put the dagesh instead.
Right.
And that means that the noon must be nif'al, because then nothing else, it's nothing, of course, could be, because we have the hey at the end, which is the ending of the present
The
tense,
femininum.
of the
Right.
feminine present tense,
Right.
participum or the past. So we know that the noon couldn't be eitan. Of course, it could be eitan because it could be cohortative, but that's very let's make it very simple. Veha ha neshama. So this is obvious.
Exactly.
So let's not go, noun,
Right.
noun, adjective connected with the hey hayedia, with the definite article in front of the noun and adjective, and that's it. And we know
Right.
haaret is the femininum, even though it looks like masculine. It's one of these confusing verbs.
Sure. This is how I knew from the beginning that it must be the participle.
Yeah, this is the first lead which tells us vehaaretz ha neshama, and that's it.
Right. So nif'al, nisham, I'm guessing.
You know what? I don't even know. And when we don't know, what we gonna do?
We check the Klein dictionary.
We can do something much more clever. So if you already know the root, and we know let me just share you what I do. We can go to the official website of the Hebrew Academy, and they will tell. So you see what I do, right?
Right.
So here we have the table. So you put the root. So shin, mem, mem. You have to have the Hebrew keyboard or on screen. So it's a little bit. It's but it's worthwhile. So we put the root shin mem mem, and then we decide, and then we choose the binyan. We have to know these things, right? This doesn't if you're using the Pealim or Klein, you don't have to think, because you have a choice to look. You can choose what they offer you. Here they don't offer you anything. Here they work with you.
Right.
So nif'al, and we see here. So we see here is nashama. So that would be as we see here, avar means the past tense. So nashama was desolated, and here we will see neshama, hove, present tense or participum, yechida, meaning the singular femininum, neshama, exactly our conjugation. So this is the website which I have. Of course, it doesn't give you the meaning, because for the meaning you can buy a simple German dictionary, which is very good. That's very, or you can use the Klein. But if you want to check all the conjugations, this is the page to go, because in Pealim, Pealim is not good because there is transliteration. So you are not improving the most important basic skill of reading, and there is translation, which you also don't need, because you don't need. If you have too much help, you will never get rid of it. So let's immediately better to get rid of it.
You will not improve.
Yes. So let's see how it's the past tense. Past tense is nasham. So this is very interesting
Nash.
that in Nasham, right? And actually the mem should have dagesh for the missing the second mem, but since it's the last letter,
Right.
it's the last letter in the word, it does not have dagesh. As you can see, all the other conjugation in the past tense, they do have dagesh, obviously, because that's the symbolism for
Right.
the missing mem, which is the third radical.
Right. And I imagine the missing dagesh is also the reason why the chirik here changes to the why instead of nisham we get nasham. So the chirik changes.
It's possible that dagesh from the mem jump under into the noon, and that's why we have the kamats. That's possible, but I don't think, because if you look at the hem hen here, so here we have the dagesh and we still have kamats.
Right, we still have.
So this what you said, it would make sense to me as well, but we see in who, he, and hem and hen there is kamats, so I don't know why. It seems to me that it behaves like pa'al in the past. These some of the verbs, they do this, that they in the past they behave like pa'al, even though they are in the nifal, and in the future they behave like nifal. I don't really know, to be honest.
Right.
So this is nifal. Nasham
Nasham
was desolated.
was desolated.
And this is Benoni, as we call
Benoni.
it, the participum, and
Yechida.
Yechida, exactly. Yechida, very good.
So the desolated land.
And the desolated land. And now the teave. This is very important. What we're gonna repeat here. So again, let's do our best.
Right. It's ein, beit, dalet.
So we're gonna put ein with the big letters because we know this is a laryngala, gronit.
Right.
Cannot get dagesh, and will mess up with our nekudot, because of that it will mess up with our regular conjugations pattern. Ein, beit, dalet. And what now, right?
Right.
So
it looks like, based on the vowel patterns, it looks like kitel.
Right, but kitel,
we would have the dagesh
in the second letter.
Right.
And this is not. Sometimes we know sometimes mean call, these letters will sometimes lose dagesh
right
from them to for easier pronunciation. So this is not one of these letters. So we cannot say, there's supposed to be dagesh, but because it's one of these letters where the dagesh disappears, so that's why there is no dagesh, because this is not min kol, mem, yud, nun, kuf, vav, lamet. So that's obvious. This is not PL.
Right.
So let's
then I would say it's the regular katal.
Okay. Pa'al. That's okay, but that would be ta'avot, right? Because in the pa'al we have always this we have eshmor, tishmor,
right,
nishmor, yishmor, tishmor. We have that o sound between the second and the third radical. So this is
right.
This is neither this is it not. So let's figure it out some way how to figure it out. Maybe we can use also again the nituach pealim, which is very funny thing. Basically, you put there. I don't think you can copy there. Let's see. Te aved. No, you cannot. But what you can do, you could put the letters there, and it gives you option what you have. So this is very interesting. So all right, the too many options. But let's go with you just gonna look for yours, right? Ta'avot, and it tells you, Kal atit future, you will work. This is not it, because it's not ta'avot. Ta'avot, we see that ata and he, you and she is the same, right? No, that's not it. Wait a moment. Te'avet, that's exactly our case, right?
That's our case.
So we tell us it's nifal, and again we're gonna have always two cases by each of these tau, because we know tau at the beginning can mean you or she, and we see it's nifal, and we can click here, and it gives us the whole conjugation.
Right. So normally the first letter would have to receive the dagesh, but because the first letter is ein,
right, so it cannot get as we call it the goalkeepers. He grabs that puck from Mar Lemieux, and he throws back under the tau, because usually in the conjugation simple, the simple active and simple passive, meaning pa'al and nif'al, we usually have hirik, one dot, and why there is suddenly tseirei, we never have in conjugation tseirei, exactly because of that, because the dagesh jumped from ein, because it's gronit, under the tau, and that's why from one dot, which is in pa'al or nifal, we have two dots. That's how I explain it to myself, and I think it makes total sense.
Right. So this is also what helps us figure out that it is nifal. If we know how to look for it.
Yes. Why the two dots? We never have conjugation in the conjugation not two dots. Tseirei.
Right.
We have shva in the pl and pu'al. And tseirei you get only there because it's called in universities they would call it prolonging.
Right.
Whatever story you make it for yourself to remember it easily, does work for me. So ein dalat bet. So this is nifal, and the past tense is we have two things, so which is ne'evat. Let's go with this one, first one. Always first one. Why not? Ne'evat. It was worked. It's not really when the tractor goes over your field, So the land was agriculturated.
Right. Or
cultivated.
Or cultured, maybe.
Cultured or
cultivated. Right. Cultivated.
Right. Cultivated.
Was cultivated.
So, and of course the te'evat, because it is of course this is future, so eitan, and it's ata or he. Or no, obviously here it's he, because the land is the feminine, is the
land.
nekeva.
Right.
And the land, and the desolated land will be cultivated.
Will be cultivated, right?
So even though I think we don't go over a lot of text, but I think it's very important what are we learning here? Neshama, we see dagesh, so we know when it's the second and the third letter, it's the same, so we just get rid of the third one and put dagesh instead. Here we just learn nifal with gronit. So these are the things which we this is always repeating things, which is quite hard, and I think we are learning a lot, even though we are not going over a huge amount of text.
What is the rule actually here? So that the avar is ne'evad,
right,
instead of nivad.
So let's go. So let's put it. So let's say we would have have nif'al, right?
Right.
So we should have the nivad.
Nivad, right?
But because the ein does not like shva, same as it doesn't like the dagesh, right? Those are the features of the gronio, the laryng, the gutturals. They do not like dageshim, and they do not like shva.
Right.
So what do we do with that shva? Very simple. We make it so to say shva. So we put shva and we put segol there.
Right.
And when the ein receive this half shva with segol, the next letter will just copy what is being followed after the shva. So that's why we get segol.
Right. Right.
And the rest is the same.
Sure. That's interesting. Okay.
Yes, maybe too much. Yeah.
And the desolated land will be cultivated.
Yeah. Let's go weiter. And let's put ourselves here. This for the conjugation table from academia. I got the conjugation tables. So you will have it always there when you need it.
Right.
Yeah, great. So let's do. I don't think we have to do these two because these are very simple. These are both of them in Pa'al.
Right. Tachat means
Means under,
right?
But it can also mean instead of.
Right. Instead of what she was. Shemama.
That's the same root like before.
It's the same root, right?
So desolated.
Desolated. Le'enei. Before my eye.
This is smichud like bnei. So in the eyes of.
Oh, right. This is the plural. In the eyes of everyone. Of everyone who.
Every passerby.
Passerby.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay. So,
as we see this, when I read this on PES last year, this is Haftarah which is being read on the Shabbos in the middle of the Pesach. So we saw this happen, right? Because if you look at Tel Aviv and you see these skyscrapers when there was desert 150 years ago, so person who must cry because this is what Bible said 2,500 years ago, and now it happened. Wow.
right.
It's unbelievable.
Okay, so I will continue with the reading.
Yeah, the verse Lamed Hey.
Right. Ve'amru haaretz halezu haneshama hayata kegan Eden, sorry, kegan Eden, ve'e'arim
Hechorevot. We have this again.
Hechorevot, right? Again, we have this Hechorevot. Vehaneshemot.
Vehaneshamot.
Neshamot.
That's what they make here in the Aleppo Codex. You see the Chataf Patach there, and you read it correctly as A,
right.
But they just put it there as a Chataf Patach. Let's just make it a little bit like this. Wait. So it's so almost impossible to see it because they want you to read it as a Shvana, as an audible Shva.
Right.
That's what my teacher told me, but it's not A. It's E because if we would look the conjugations, if you would look the conjugations, well, it's shin mem mem, sorry. We would see shin mem mem, nifal, neshamot, right? We see hove, neshamot. We see the shva, neshamoim or neshamot.
Right.
So it's just, I don't know. They just put the Haftarah Parah instead of the shva because they want us to read it as the
It's an
shva,
audible shva.
as an audible shva. That's how they make the stuff. It's confusing totally, and many people don't know it, and then they would really read vehanashamot, and it doesn't make sense. At least that's what my teacher told me, and I go with that.
Right. Vehaneshamot, neherasot, betzurot, yashavu.
Very good.
So I'll point out the verbs. The verbs are ve'amru.
Obviously. Ve'haneshama, again, we have this.
Right, the participle.
And haita, I'm doing this because we had before it, and it's so simple, even if we wouldn't,
Right.
I would still do it. So we saw before here, this will be already the ruined ones, because here we have the noun arim, right? So all these are the adjectives.
Right.
Neshamod, we saw this, and neherasod, also an adjective.
Right.
And you see that very beautiful here in the present tense, how we said neherasod is like same like ne'evad, right? Hey cannot get the shva, so it gets chataf segol, and that's why the noun also has segol. And obviously yashavu is also a verb. Obviously. No need to talk about what's happening there, except one thing. Right, so we see there is a real verb here, right? Because all these verbs there are participum in the passive voice, but they are used as adjectives. But this is the real verb, so we can split it into two parts. And here is also verb. So, and let's split it like this. Why not? We can do that.
Right.
And now we can translate. And also we know that after the revi'ah, this musical sign, that means there is little break in the sentence,
Right. So it means that that a quotation is
right. That haaretz is not subject of the ve'amru.
Right. Ve'amru, it means and they will say.
Very good. And they will say. So we don't have the subject. So it means then the subject is general. So everyone or anyone.
Right. And they will say, what is it that they will say? They will say, Haaretz, the land.
The halezu is a very unique verb, which is only once in the whole Bible. The Bible. I should never use that. I should never use that word. Because if you look Mesorah is this apparat which was built into which we also have in Biblia Hebraica, which we should. It tells us how many times this verb, if it's a rare verb, how many times it appears in Tanakh,
Right.
So let's say if we check it out. So this is chapter. I have the edition for Yechezkel because that's the name of my son. So this is the first book I get, obviously. So let me just give me a second. I'm just gonna check it out if it helps us. Because if the book tells itself this is a rare verb, you're not gonna think twice. Let me remember it. What do you mean remember it? This is twice in the whole Bible. Even if you read by the Tanakh, twice a day, you will still not remember it. So
Right.
just let's not be lazy and just open the dictionary, right? That's the thing to do. So yeah, later. The dictionary says the Mikra od Dolot says later. So unique hapax in your circles,
Right.
and it means dead one, dead land, dead desolated land.
Oh, I see. So it is like a pronoun, like
Yes,
hazot, or
the how you say pronoun. Yes, exactly. Hazot, or we have these two hahi, right?
right.
That's the normal one, hahi. So this is halazu. It's like hahi, but it's you have the prophet, so he's gonna use the verb once in a million years to make it to because it's a poetic, right? You don't want to speak like the rappers. You want to speak like Shakespeare. So you're gonna
Right.
use the fancy verbs or nouns. Okay,
So that desolated land was
or
like
became or was became.
became like the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Arim, and the cities. What? So again, we have the same word as before,
which were ruined
right? Which were ruined and which were desolated.
and destroyed. We could say this is the word which my daughter
Right.
uses when she destroys her castle from Duplo, and desolated and destroyed.
Right. So the root here is hey, resh, and samech, right?
Yes, yes,
And it's nifal,
yes.
right? I'm just stating the obvious here. Right?
That's very good.
And desolated and destroyed. Betsurot, Yashabu.
So Betzurot, it's fortified.
Right.
Fortified. And Yashavu, they were settled. People were settled in them, right?
Right.
Fortified. And Neharasot. We see the musical sign. What happened to them? As fortified, we could add as fortified. They were
They
fortified.
settled.
People settled. People settled in them, right? It's missing a lot of things
Right.
from the text.
You have to. So Betzurot, it agrees with the cities.
Right,
It refers to the cities.
Because as we see the all of these odd, and we know Arim is look like masculine, no, but obviously city is like the mother of its inhabitants, and that's why it is a feminine, nekeva. Yeah, and that's it for today, I think. As you wanted to have only 1 hour, so it's
right.
and I think it was great lesson today. I think it was really great.
Yes, I think so too. I learned some very interesting things to pay